if you're here early. So, I need to mess with this for a second. Hey, cuz, what's up? I'm trying to figure out how to invite my friend Janie, but it's not really giving me that option right now. Yo, Ophelia Morrison, what's up? I'm trying to figure out how to invite my friend real quick, and then we'll get started here in a bit. Hello, everyone. Talk amongst yourselves. I am not prepared. I don't even have this on. Hold on. All right, how does that sound? Can you hear me now? I don't even have this like boxed in well at all. Oh, swell. Bear with me while I try to figure out how to get Cheney in here. If you hear a little dog in the background, it's the terror, the new love of my life, Ruby. A dog that I rescued 2 weeks ago. Let's see. Why is this not doing what I want it to do? All right, guys, bear with me 1 second. I'm going to try to get Cheney in here. Let's see. Is it going to let me go live at the same time? Probably not. Can I be live at the same time? Cheney, I don't know if you're listening to this, but it doesn't appear as if I can do this on the computer. I see where it's giving me the option on the phone. I don't know why it would be different in that way. I love you. Please don't be mad at me. I wanted to do it together. All right, let me get a couple things going on in the background. It's been so long, I don't even hardly remember how to work my own equipment. Killing the game, y'all. Killing the game. I'm not prepared, but this is part of my trauma. And one of the reasons why you don't see me as often as it should be, because I freak out about everything not being perfect. And then rather than do something slightly not perfect, I'll just not do it at all. Thanks, Mom. Okay, well, I guess we'll get started. It's 8 o'clock, and fortunately, I'm here. Unfortunately, it appears as if you're getting some break in the stream. Damn, 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 damn. Well, is it getting any better? All good on Taylor's end. Okay. Well, shall we, everyone? It's been a minute. Okay, it's literally fine, says Taylor. Good to go. Let me tell Janie I'm sorry. And then we'll get this party started. All right, folks, welcome back. Are we Lunatic Fringe anymore? Not really. I was thinking about the last true episode that I made and how fucking gay I was. It almost makes me cringe to sit back and listen to it. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna time this out 1 second. We're gonna restart this one more time. I wanted to put on some fucking sunglasses so I don't stare at myself on the computer. So hold on 1 minute, people. Sorry. All my sunglasses are in the car, so I'm just gonna. All my sunglasses are in the car. I'm just gonna try not to stare at myself. All right. And since I'm not looking you at the eye, just don't be mad about it. It's a weird place that we are. I wish I could show you Ruby right now. She's right here. Can you see her little ear? Okay. Welcome back. This is the first episode of what I'm eventually going to call Conspiracy Slop. I really wanted Lunatic Fringe to work. In my heart of hearts, that's what I want to we are the Lunatic Fringe. But Red Rider sang it and they did it better than me. And there's also heaven forbid your girl just asked for some help from someone who streams. Are you talking to me? I'm sorry. I set this thing up as this scheduled thing, and I think that that's what messed me up. It gave me the option on the phone. Okay, I'm going to try to be good about not talking to people, and I'm just going to rip for a little while, and then we'll come back. Anyways, I really wanted this new podcast to be Lunatic Fringe, and it's just not going to work. But I do love the song. I do love the idea. The new thing is going to be Conspiracy Slop because it's just everywhere. The slop permeates everything that I see, everything that I consume. And obviously, maybe I shouldn't be perpetually online and I should log off. But it's slip, slap, sloppy. And we need to talk about that. Today is what? Thursday, August 27th, 2026, if you're listening sometime in the future. And we have a lunar eclipse tonight. And I saw this tweet. I'm not gonna give it justice, but it was something along the lines of, I never recall we have 800 eclipses occur every year, I feel like, in a way that describe themselves as this is the first eclipse in 70, 80, 90, 100, whatever, how many years, hundreds of years maybe, this once in a lifetime thing. And I feel like we, especially as millennials, have had the numerosity of the eclipses, I feel like, continues to increase. But nevertheless, if you know me, if you've watched this for a while, you know that I don't think anything is real. But I like to talk about astrology a lot, especially lately. And I don't want you to take it as I'm this necessarily per se astrology girly. but I think it's just like representative of the code in the simulation. Like it's a guidebook, if you will. And if you know what to look for, you're going to get some sort of indication of what is to come. So let me pull up some tweets that I want to reference with you. Now, back in September of 2025, let's see. A total lunar eclipse occurred on September 7th, 2025, and I was perusing the internets around that time, especially right 3 days later when Charlie Kirk died, and I saw this picture of some text. And I'm going to be real honest with you, I cannot recall exactly where I saw that and who originally posted this. So I cannot take credit for finding this book, but I did, something popped up on my Twitter feed and it was referencing Charlie Kirk's death and the total lunar eclipse that had just occurred. And it was showing this language that I hadn't seen before. And if I mispronunciate, if I do not pronunciate this, I can't fucking talk right now. I feel like I'm having a stroke. If I cannot say this correctly, I apologize. I have listened to it on the internet, like the computer telling me how to pronounce it. But it's called a decanate. And it kind of looks like decante, if you want me to be honest. But I learned that each sign has a decanate. I'm looking at my like phonetic spelling of it as I say that to you. And a decanate is a subdivision of each zodiac sign. If there are 30 degrees in each zodiac sign, and so a decanate, there's the first representing the first 10 degrees, the second and the third. And depending on where you are in the month, that's where certain things fall into specific decanates. And so this original picture that I saw was talking about how this total lunar eclipse had occurred in the Pisces second decanate. And it was showing this text, and it said that, and let me back up, I'm not even doing great at this. It's a prediction from ancient astrology. And so it says when a lunar eclipse happens in the Pisces second decanate, it predicts the death of a great person. And I've posted this a number of times, especially in light of the eclipses that have occurred. And every time I fucking post it, one of you comes out and it's like, you had me going there until you said that Charlie Kirk was a great person. And I am not per se saying that. I think he's a fucking character in the game. I don't give a shit on whether or not he's good, bad, ugly, or great. He's great in the sense of not like a literal, actual denotative version of the word, kind of like this connotative version of just great. He's a celebrity, he's known, he's a great person, whatever. But September 7th, 2025, second decanate of Pisces. This book predicts that when a lunar eclipse happens, there's the death of a great person. 3 days later, Charlie Kirk dies. I see this post and I think, that's really fucking interesting. What book is that from? I do a little digging. I find it, and it is, let me take myself back to my own self. This book, which probably is, I don't know if how it's shown to you, but it's Eclipses, The Power of Astrology by Derek Appleby and Maurice McCain, and it's an Aquarian astrology handbook. So that this tweet was a little bit viral at the time, but I did a little like reverse Googling, found this book, and immediately purchased it. I think I might have spent like $15, $18, $25 or something like that. It's evidently, I can't catch my breath. I haven't podcasted in so long, so I apologize that you're going to hear me breathing like this in the background. But I got this book really cheap. Evidently, it's very rare, and I've posted this about this a number of times on numerous kind of social media posts, and I always get people asking about it. I think I bought it from Abe Books or Able Books. This is the first time I ever used that website, so I can't exactly say what the true name of it is. But now, every time I post this, people are saying that it's running in the hundreds of dollars. So that fucking sucks. But let's talk about one of the posts I've made since that time. So, anyways, going back to every time I bring this up, one of you is like, "You had me going until you called Charlie Kirk a great person." I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that this is interesting in the predictive sort of nature. Now, there was another lunar eclipse in March, and we can come back to that. But I really want to come back to the total solar eclipse that occurred on August 12th. And that was at 20 degrees Leo, placing it squarely in the third decanate of Leo. And when I looked at the book, Eclipses again, Derek Appleby, Maurice McCabe, it predicted sacrilege, violence in towns, theft, scarcity of horses, and disease amongst them. Now, this is one of these type of posts that like I'll spend a number of hours kind of putting together, and then it just kind of falls flat when I post it. I have no traction whatsoever on Twitter right now, and this is one of those ones that literally everybody scrolls past on Instagram, and that's fine. It's not about like getting the kudos per se, because the stupidest shit will go viral, if you will. And I'm not here to necessarily like toot my own horn by any means, but sometimes you got to say like, "Hey, I was fucking right about something." Every once in a while. And it's not even me being right. It's this book being right, because it's just a simulated schedule that we're observing through this. Anyways, scarcity of horses and disease amongst them. This is posted, or excuse me, I post this on August 5th. The total solar eclipse occurs on August 12th. And then here we are, somewhat 2 weeks later, and we have Trump, or the, however exactly you want to say it, Trump, the Trump administration. I'm going to collectively refer to it as Trump, even though he might not actually be making the individual decision regarding this. But Trump, the Trump administration, has relaxed some of the laws regarding wild horses, and they were collecting them up and selling them for $25 each. Now, when that happened, I went back 2 weeks and I thought, okay, ancient astrology predicted scarcity of horses and disease amongst them. Is that another confirmation of this little weird book? I don't know. So I thought, let's look it up together tonight and see what the lunar eclipse calls for at this time. I looked it up, and we are in the first decanate of Pisces. And I was really expecting like something great, grand. You know, we're kind of like, I've posted about this 3 times, and like one of them really hasn't hit yet, but we're 2 for 3, if you will. And here we go. This is what it says. In a lunar eclipse, there will be sorrow to priests and religious houses. So, you know, I automatically have to be like, all right, Q post circa what? 2018, 27, no, 2018, 2019. The Pope is going to have a terrible May. And then I thought, okay, where am I? Sorrow to priest and religious houses. And I'm going to go in a, not that I'm advocating for anyone's death per se. We've had a number of deaths that we should talk about here in a bit. But the astrologers, excuse me, they continue to call for Trump's death. And I know we just wish we had Cheney on here and her glittery red pill to advocate for him in all the ways. But I just wonder if we're going to take this on a not so literal interpretation that sorrow to priests and religious houses, like, is that could a religious house also be a political house? Like, how do we define religion per se? Oh man, damn, at the same time, I mean, this has already happened in time, and I was going to bring it up in a completely different context, but we did have the flooding in Nepal that happened yesterday or either the day before. And the reason I was going to bring it up is because I've seen some people already discuss, like, is this AI? Because it seems a little that way. But then also, I saw an article come out that said that there were 33 United Kingdom citizens missing, and there were, wait for it, 33 Americans missing. I can't decide. Am I going to be like smart-esque just because I don't want to stare at myself? Okay, anyways. 33. And this is where I just wish someone would tell me, how does it all work? You know, I don't think that that one singular omnipresent, God exists that's going to judge me at my death and send me to either heaven, hell, or limbo. Like, that doesn't hit for me anymore. But do I believe that gods exist in this simulated reality? And do programs exist that like support those gods in some sort of simulated reality? All that to say, like, chaos magic, manifestation, praying, like whatever the fuck you want to call all these things, how does it work? Okay, so like we talk about the number 33 and the Masons and this, that, and the other. But okay, there's an article, 33 UK, 33 Americans are missing. What does that mean? Like, is it a signal? Is it a comm? Is it some sort of like reference to like an Alice cipher? Is it like, is there just a big button that as long as I offer, if I press this button in a Lucy way, if I offer my emotion to it, if I offer my thought to something, if I affirm it or publish something, obviously in writing, and writing being like as loose as a text message, email, or something on social media. Every time I say 33, like, how does it work? Where does it go? Like, to whom is it proffered? I would love to just figure out like what, I don't know. So like, I'm of the opinion sometimes that like if you believe in it, it exists. Okay. So all these, I don't think God is necessarily real. I don't think Satan is real, but if a whole collective believes in these things and they are real for them, I just wish I knew how it all works, like where can they're all using this 33 to do something for themselves. Like, where do I input my own rosebud? If you ever played The Sims. But I told you what a decadent was. I told you about the eclipse. We read the prediction. So, I didn't even fucking bring this back the way that I wanted it to. Sorrow to priest and religious houses. Cheney and I have been talking about Mount Everest for a minute. And I did not do enough digging. If somebody in the chat can let me know, how close was this Nepali flooding to Everest? Is that confirmation of sorrow to a priest or a religious house in Tibet or the Buddhist or something like that? I don't know. Interesting. But tell me, chat, are we eating ground beef these days? And if so, where are you purchasing your beef? What are you willing to spend on a pound of beef? And I guess to bring it back to the 33, kind of like, it's obvious. Like, I wish I had a specific resource I could point you to, or a specific video or something that really broke down. One time I watched something talking about the origins of the universe and based it in language, and like, you always kind of hear like the highlights of a theory. Sometimes I think conspiracy theorists have like 10% of something, just enough to be dangerous, but not enough to like have any actual knowledge on something. But along the lines of, this is a holographic matrix, this is a simulation, you create the simulation by your thoughts and your ideas and your manifestations and your prayers and whatever you want to call it. And that language cast a spell, spelling cast a spell. And so there's obvious that there's a spell in the works. Or maybe there's not. Maybe it's just evidence of the sim and some sort of synchronicity, but let's pretend it's just go down this spell thought process. So we've got the death of Dolly Parton, huge East Tennessean. I'm from East Tennessee. She is revered in East Tennessee. She's revered in Tennessee, but especially East Tennessee. And originally, when she passed away, I caught myself saying something about her being such an advocate of child literacy. And I was unaware that her program, what is it, Imagination Library, was beyond the state of Tennessee. I was only aware of it at the time because back in my college days, I did some nannying, and one of the kids that I babysat, she used to get books every month. When I posted about it a couple days ago, I was informed that this is a nationwide thing. It's not just subject to Tennessee, excuse me. And so I thought about that. And I thought about the rumors that come out when kind of anything big happens these days. Like, what holes can we poke into someone post-mortem? Like, what connections can be made? What things can be said? And really, in that notion of conspiracy slop, blah, 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 in the notion of conspiracy slop, everything is very sensationalized, and people are really just looking for dopamine in the form of social credits. But I was thinking kind of in that vein. But people like to say that Dolly was a lesbian. I saw a video today about Carl Dean. There being like a number of different ones over the years. People like to say that she was inverted, and really male to female, a transvestite in some way, an alien. There are rumors that like she was never seen really in Tennessee because she's actually covered in tattoos, and so like what you see is really a skin suit. Uh, and especially in the last number of years, she has really pivoted hard into propaganda and made a little song, a little jingle about the vaccine, is very close to like Miley Cyrus, Billy Ray Cyrus, and all that jazz, and really went hard with Taylor and Travis this year. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, psyop on psyop, like fucking central casting on central casting, Operation Mockingbird crime. That is a PR relationship, people. Nothing is real. But she came out right around the time of their wedding, sometime within the last 30 days, and said, basically, when that baby comes, I'm calling dibs. And we all love, like, that's the interesting thing about conspiracy slop. So many, like, kind of 4-letter words that you and me would have been hesitant to post about within the last 8 years, would have been reluctant to post about within the last 8 years regarding potential censorship and banning and losing our accounts and things like that. Now everything seems to be fine to talk about, and that's cool. I actually kind of don't really like it. That's another conversation for another day. But I see so much like kind of discourse about like, oh, she's going to transfer her consciousness. Oh, who else died recently? Hayden Panettiere. And this idea that, let me say one more thing. I'm kind of jumping the gun. Taylor, Travis, Dolly makes a video because Taylor and Travis donate millions of dollars to Imagination Library. She comes out with a video. She's talking to them. She's thanking them. She's telling people about it. She makes some sort of weird little ball satanic hand sign and then says something along the lines of, when that baby comes, like, I'm calling dibs on it. And so immediately went into this conversation about transferred consciousness, which I want to talk about a little bit more here on the side. But it's this very kind of like easy, almost like lackadaisical way that we're talking about it now. Like, oh yeah, that's Dolly. She's going to transfer that consciousness. She's going somewhere else. And, so in that, I was thinking about the books and the donation from Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and a number of people. Actually, this is where I went with it first. I thought, you know what? I should go back kind of with a fine tooth comb and look at the list, of books that are sent out each year. I was like, you know what? That would be a good kind of post that I could do. Let me go through this. Let me evaluate it. Let me see where the propaganda is, because obviously she's the queen of propaganda these days with her vaccine comments. And then I posted a little thing about that in my stories, and I got a bunch of messages from mothers who were like, I get where you're coming from, but my kid got these books, and there were a couple ones that were inappropriate, like just age wise, but or my kid was a male and we were getting female books, but overall, not a big deal, not a big deal. Somebody eventually commented, like, all you had to do was give your name or the child's name and the birth date, and you got these books for however many years it was. And then I thought, wow, in a world of top down surveillance, in a world of child exploitation, in a world of human trafficking, if we're going to play into the hypothetical, and this is for entertainment purposes only, don't sue me. If we're going to play into the hypothetical that Dolly is an Operation Mockingbird central casting CIA agent asset that probably isn't even real. If we're going to play into that hypothetical, then isn't children's literacy literally the perfect guise to create a database of the names, birth dates, and home addresses of millions and millions of American children over the last 30 years? Like, we're always talking about 23andMe and the idea that the government knows everything about us. Well, like, one of the ways that this occurs is something like this. Like, what a database Miss Dolly must have. And one must wonder what she does with that database, But going back to the idea of the spell, so Dolly dies, and it's not maybe 30 minutes before I realize that that first Dolly is listed on the hurricane names for 2026. Okay, coincidence? I think not, whatever. Then literally like the next thing to learn is that not only is Dolly on the hurricane list, it is literally, quite literally, the next storm to occur. And what happened literally the next day? The Dolly storm formed in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, I don't have all the specifics for you. You can get on TikTok, you can get on Twitter, you can find these things, but there's some relationship between Dolly and Billy Ray Cyrus, and then there's a very close relationship between Dolly and Miley Cyrus. And I read a headline that she's inheriting all of her stuff, whatever. Miley's jumped on the bandwagon of getting your teeth done, which is another weird thing that I think celebrities are doing, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But Miley announced something on 8/25. She talks about in her lifetime how 8/25 is such an important day for her. Maybe it's her father's birthday. It permeates. She announces some sort of tour that she's coming back. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's 8/25. Dolly dies on 8/25. I wonder, I've heard other things about Miley before, if she's a moon child. Okay. So we're just very casually talking about transferred consciousness these days. And I like that on one hand, because I think the idea of the stacked consciousness that is transferable is more probably realistic of, every time I reference Vril, I'm referencing the idea of the reptilian that is in this meat suit and inhabiting a human, if you will. And so, in that vein of Vril, clones, robots, it all kind of involves this idea that consciousness can be contained on some sort of device that could then be implanted in a robot, a clone, a Vril, or whatever. And so I was then wondering, if we're casting this spell and Dolly dies, and the next day Dolly has a storm that's created. And a lot of times we're always making HARP references and DARPA references, and we're talking about loosh and energy and hurricanes. And so in this casual nature of talking about transferring consciousness and the very much altered carbon, if you haven't seen that before, we never talk about like how much energy is required to transfer consciousness, you know? So like I was just thinking about that as it relates to the hurricane. Dolly's dead. If she is a ancient real alien from somewhere else and her consciousness is now going to be transferred into another vessel, we talk about it very haphazardly as if it's very easy, but what if it does require some like 0 point energy, some hurricane energy? I don't know. Interesting. There's also somebody pointed out on Twitter. So Dolly dies, same day Tim Curry dies. Then, oh, Dolly and Tim Curry die on August 25th, which is also Macaulay Culkin's birthday. And then a bunch of people on Twitter were talking about how everyone in that like kind of one scene on Home Alone is now dead. I don't remember all the names. The mom died this year. The dad died this year. The bird lady died this year. Tim Curry died this year. Macaulay Culkin's birthday. Makes you wonder what's going on there. Dolly was 80. Tim Curry was 80. The astrologists keep predicting that Trump is going to die. Trump is 80. Trump is also in Home Alone. Okay. These are just all things I'm pointing out that don't necessarily have anything to do with each other. Then yesterday, I don't know this actor or singer. I can't remember exactly what she is, but her name is Jay. Jaye, kind of a female spelling of it. J.P. Morgan. So Twitter is talking about, okay, Dolly the dollar, Tim Curry, currency, and then J.P. Morgan all die. So like in the like very much on the nose way that the simulation is at times with like Sam Bankman-Fried is the simulation like signaling to us something about the dollar currency and JP Morgan. Now also today or yesterday Peter Cullen died, the actor who played Optimus Prime. And Cheney just pointed this out. I got to bring this up. Tim Curry is also Pennywise, and the penny has been discontinued. So if we're like playing this word game of Dolly, currency, penny, JP Morgan. But Peter Cullen dies, he's Optimus Prime, and that always takes me back to Hoover Dam. I'm not a Transformers girly. That's not my cup of tea. But I am aware that, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, that Optimus Prime is supposed to like be stored there, live there, stay there, stuck there in some sort of way. I went to the Hoover Dam circa 2024, and the research that I did leading up to that, I found an article from the 80s that referenced a time projection chamber inside the Hoover Dam that existed in the 50s. When I went on my tour, I asked about that time projection chamber to the individual who told me he knew everything about it. He did not know anything about that. And I got weird looks from everyone else on the tour, but I did have to ask. So we've got, this Watch the Water, which if you haven't been like balls deep in this stuff for a long time, it's going to sound really weird when I tell you that I think that QAnon was a failed experiment from ancient artificial intelligence that exists in the future. But if we have to believe that some benevolent faction exists in the future and was trying to help us out for a time and did tell us to quote unquote watch the water, we do have to wonder, does that mean all of this reference to data centers and water? Especially kind of circling back to the Hoover Dam, Lake Paul is supposed to be almost out of water. I don't know where we're going with it. And I really wish, again, Cheney, love ya, wish you were here. we've had a conversation where I pulled up how data centers and water work, and we went through it like we were trying to explain this to each other like we were 5, and it was just like it just doesn't click for me all the way. So am I to believe then that I guess let me back up. I don't think artificial intelligence is new. I think it's been around for a long time. So I don't think anything created now is infrastructure per se to support some sort of new system that the country, the economy, the citizenry demand. So I think artificial intelligence has existed for a great deal of time, if not always. Now, I talked about having this conversation in my stories on Instagram. Do you ever look at AI generated content, especially the art that it creates? And I look at it before I had this conversation with myself, I used to look at it and wonder, like, why does it not utilize any different font? You know? Why does it not utilize like any different style? Like it's a very distinct style, it's a very distinct manner in which it creates content. It's very not visible being the word. You can pick it out like it sticks out like a sore thumb. And I don't want to dox the small town that my boyfriend lives in Kentucky, but he lives in a small town in Kentucky. And I've been spending more time up there recently, and there's just no bones about it. Whomever is selling ad space out there is literally generating these huge billboards with real businesses, and it's just the worst AI generated ad you've ever seen slapped up there on a billboard. And so you look at that and you're like, if I had given a graphic designer any amount of time and even just like that AI generated picture, they could tweak things in such a way to make it stylistically like pleasing to the eye and change it from this regurgitation that we continue to see. And so I wonder, I think AI has always existed, and I think they're proffering this little kind of they're showing it to us and they're making it so sloppy, so intentionally sloppy, and only in this one style completely, as if they're training us like, oh, this is what AI looks like. This is the only way that AI looks, so that you don't ever leave that box and think that anything exists outside of that box. Like, this is the only thing that AI could be creating. You know, if you read something generated by AI, it has a very distinct cadence, a very distinct tone, and a very distinct manner in which it writes. And I think all of that is very intentional so that you are unable to distinguish, like, you only categorize AI slop in that way. And you don't think, oh, that Joe Biden that was on television for 4 years, maybe he was actually artificially generated. You know what I mean? Just some thoughts. Okay. I just want to know how all the magic works, you know? Like if can I utilize this 33, 33 missing in UK and American and Nepal? Like where do I input this? How does it work for me? I don't know. I don't know, but I would love to know. Circling back, Dolly's 80, Tim Curry was 80, Trump is 80. If you've been following me for a bit, especially on X, I've been having this idea of a hero Don timeline where Don Juan Trump is revered as a hero. And I've thought that for some time, especially in light of like how poorly the economy is doing, but really I've evaluated it in crypto especially because the Trumps, the Sun Trumps are very big into crypto, have made a lot of statements about it people being millionaires, cycles, predictions, whatever. And the Trump family, but especially Trump himself, is not in the business of being incorrect, not in the business of being wrong. The character that is Trump, like, that's not part of the make of that character. And so, in the idea of, like, I'll give you Little Baron Trump, Baron Trump Omnibus. I'll pretend that time travel is real in this respect. I'll pretend that Trump has access to this in some way. I think he is not going to go down with this legacy. Like, it all has to turn around at some point, and he has to be Biff. Like, Biff in Home Alone is Trump. And I know that he has the sports almanac somewhere. And so I keep waiting for it to turn around. And there were so many signals of 88 last year. It started around, not that it started, let me take that back. I began observing it around April when Bitcoin hit 88,000, and I started seeing it everywhere. And there was this 88, this Heil Hitler, this HH reference. Something was happening at the same time. It was just like a whole thing. And so every time I see an 88 reference now, I wonder, is this a manipulation of the timeline? Like, are they moving the island, if you will? And so I've been saying for a while, Hero Dawn, Hero Dawn, Hero Dawn. I just kind of pulled it out of my ass. It didn't come from anywhere specifically other than him just being a hero. There was a video that I shared sometime last year, but this Russian politician came out and said, listen, the United States is about to devalue everything, and they're going to roll all of their debt into crypto. And then they're going to intentionally inflate the economy and bring it back up. And ever since I thought that video, that is what I think is happening right now. That's why I think everything is down. That's why I think Bitcoin is all the way down. And I think Trump is putting all of our debt into that. And then he's going to inflate the economy, and he's going to be Hero Dawn. So it's very interesting to me, going back to August 12th, the total solar eclipse happens, and just days later, another Operation Mockingbird central casting character dies. So, like, don't get it twisted when I start talking about this stuff. Like, by no means, like, A, I don't think white hats exist, and B, I think everyone is a fucking op or on Operation Mockingbird's payroll. So, like, I am not here to commiserate or, like, cry about Hayden Panettiere passing away. But what I do think was interesting in all that is that she was the main character of Heroes. And I didn't watch Heroes, so I don't have a lot of information on that. But right there following her death, right there following this total solar eclipse, I'm pulling up pictures of her. And in all of these television promos, they have the word Heroes, and that O is the eclipse picture. And in a great deal of those photos, she is always pictured directly above the O in Heroes, directly above the eclipse in all of these promos. So then I make that post, and I don't see it until the next day, but there's this video of Trump, and I can't remember exactly who he's interviewing, but it's somebody that has done something heroic. Hayden Panettiere dies, the eclipse, Heroes, and then that same day, he's calling this guy a hero, and he says it maybe more than 2 or 3 times, like, hero, hero, hero. So again, how does this magic work? Like, repeating things, like saying numbers, employing numbers, saying things that, like, is it really just as simple as it seems? Do I just need to get my mind right? And then if I make the right inputs into the game, it's eventually going to do what I want it to do? So if spelling is casting a spell and my words are forming the holographic universe? Is it just about repetition? Like this is I got a little moleskin type thing right here, and I write some notes in it ahead of a show sometimes, and I was writing things down, and I wrote like spell arrow, words arrow, cast arrow, repetition. And then I was thinking about, I have all these little notebooks like hidden all over my house because I like to buy notebooks and then I never actually use them. It's the art of that fresh page is only good for like the first 10% of the book. But I used to be a lot more woo-woo than I am. I used to have a little bit more time on my hands, and it was like I was looking for love in all the wrong places, and I was doing a lot of manifesting. I was doing a lot of, like, 55 by 5 where you, like, write the same thing down 55 times, 5 different times, and manifesting in such a way that, like, I already have it, like, I'm drawing this timeline to me. Is it just that easy, Hero Don wants to be the hero, so he's just gonna say hero on the same day that the hero died? I don't know. I just wanna know how it works. I wanna understand everything. But in the same way, like, this is just so random, but I reposted this on, Twitter last week, and I just wanted to bring it up because it kinda, like, plays into this conversation. Somebody said that they were making something really random for a bachelorette party that they're going on, and the bride really likes Luke Bryan. And so for some reason she had gone through like tons and tons of his songs through all of his albums. And this creator said that in 3 to 4 songs on every album that Luke Bryan has, there is he says the word corn at approximately 36 seconds. So 3 to 4 songs per album. At the 36-second mark, Luke Bryan is saying the word corn. Is that the style in which the writer of these songs is accustomed to? Is that some sort of fucking corn spell? I don't know. It was interesting to learn more about corn sweat this year and how it actually has a quantifiable impact on the temperature around you. And the corn sweats and releases water, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but releases it into the atmosphere and it gets hotter. Fucking corn sweat. I've gone through my notes really quick. How long have we been on here? Fam? I don't know. Look at Cheney, my girl, being so sweet in here. Let's see. I wanted to talk about dog comms because there's been a number of dog comms recently. And the most interesting of which I saw yesterday. Un momento. Okay. Yesterday was Happy National Dog Day. Merriam-Webster comes out and says, wolf. Canine is derived from the Latin adjective caninus, based on canis, meaning dog. However, it was first used in reference to one of the 4 pointed teeth situated on each jaw in mammals. If you've ever looked at me real hard, I have got some very pronounced canines because my jaws don't meet appropriately, and I do all my chewing on my back teeth. One time somebody asked me if I had fangs. Nah, dog. These are just my canines. Anyways, I was talking about dog comms and saw this from yesterday. A woman was arrested Tuesday night after police say a strange encounter at a closed Secret Service checkpoint near President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate escalated into a pursuit that shut down part of South Ocean Boulevard for more than 3 hours. This broad said, "I'm here for the car wash." Her dog gets killed. Now, maybe you're not schizo enough for this conversation. I don't know. But we believe around here that there are times in which celebrities, Operation Mockingbird, Central Casting, the elites, the architects, whatever the fuck you want to call them, that Sometimes they cannot communicate through conventional means and they release comms out into the ether, out into the public ether, if you will. And following the death of No Name McCain, there were all these references to dogs dying. And so the dog comm was kind of discovered and became a big point of a conversation for some of us conspiracy theorists. So every time I see dog in the news in some way, I believe that some high level, not a per se politician, some high level asset has been killed. Look at the references for dogs before McCain and Bush died. Coded messages tipping others off in the group that a member has passed away. Our beloved dog has died when one of them is gone. The people believe that the first big one was kind of McCain and then George H.W. Bush. But every time I see a big dog reference in mass media, I think it's referencing some sort of death or some sort of calm. So back to, again, not wishing El Presidente any harm, but the astrologists keep predicting that he is going to pass away. And one must wonder if he actually already did pass away in May. But that's another conversation for another day. And to come out and have a dog comm of a dog dying at Mar-a-Lago is just very, very interesting. Ooh, it's 8:51. We've almost been here for an hour. Just rolled off so quick. I think I said this in the beginning. I never really followed up. But man, I was listening to that intro episode to Lunatic Fringe that I did, like a year and a half ago now? And I was so fucking gay. I remember recording and re-recording that intro so many times, being like, what am I going to say to the class about where I've been and how long it took me to get back here? And it was so fucking gay. I'm so sorry I made you listen to that. But I love you so much. This has been fun. Let's see if anybody has anything to chat about. Everybody say hi to Vintage Grape. That's my cousin in the chat. Everybody say hi to Cheney, Project Cheney, for all of the comments that she provided in here that I was not looking at during this time. But I had a good time with you. What's new in my life that I can tell you about? Still dating my man. About 2 years in. I wish I knew what to. I think I'm going to call him Lon. I don't know why that came to me. I've been asking him to name himself so I have a point of reference. But alas, that has not occurred. So doing great. He just bought a house in Kentucky. I wish I could tell you about it. It's so interesting. It has a very distinct feature that if I did tell you about it, you would be able to find out my future house really quickly. So unfortunately, that's not going to occur, but I really, really wish I could. I have been outfitting it with all the cool shit on a Facebook Marketplace. I bought a chandelier last night. I'm so excited to see it up this weekend. Building a little random ass oasis in Kentucky. Hopefully gonna quit my job sometime soon and go do a little trad wifing. Funny. Anyways, tonight is the lunar eclipse. Any minute now, you should probably head outside and try to look at it. My mom has texted me while we've been here and said, go outside starting right now. A lunar eclipse is going to occur. I wish I could tell you my mom's name. It's so weird and wild. But again, she's probably one of 3 people in the United States named that, and I would dox myself immediately. But one day I'll both have her and old Lonnie boy on the old podcast. Somebody I think asked earlier if my boyfriend is an NPC. I don't think NPC is. I think of it twofold. Are there actual NPCs out there? 110%. Non-player characters, scripted completely, literally projections of the simulation. What I think Dolores Cannon called background people. I literally think that they exist. I also think that 90% of the world are NPCs, but that's neither here nor there. I also think that NPC is a state of mind, a state of being, akin to the idea of being 3D. And I think being an NPC is something that we all do experience, fall into at different times during this reality. I feel like I'm in a very NPC 3D reality right now. And that's one of the reasons why I'm just over my current profession and litigation and the emotional toll that comes with it. Um, and I just feel very 3D. And every time I put that out into the universe and I talk about wanting to do something different, the simulation will reward me and I'll make like a bunch more money next week trying to keep me in, you know? Yeah, so there's that. Oh, so do I think that Lonnie is an NPC? He is not. He's very woke. He's unvaccinated. He questions so much, but then he's got just a couple NPC tendencies. Like he definitely like he's very set in his ways, I guess is what I should say. So he most definitely thinks the world is a sphere, and one of his friends thinks that the world is flat. Obviously, if you know me, you know that I think that reality is a Riemann sphere, which is both flat and spherical at the same time in the toroidal plane. But we're rendering as we go in this simulation on the one-dimensional plane as well. But Lonnie, like when he talks about his friend who believes in flat earth, he calls him stupid and dumb and like has all these really derogatory things to say. And if you still approach people who think differently than you like that's an NPC thing for me. So I love him to death. I hope he's not listening. But I tell him this all the time that he's got a little more. He gets very like he's like, how could you think that? How could you think the world is flat? Like there's all this evidence. He loves to talk about evidence. And I'm like, what is evidence? What does that even mean when all your quote unquote fucking evidence is propaganda? We get real fired up. We're going to record a podcast together sometime. It'll be very lively. Just because I'm a contrarian, I like to like give you a hypothetical and then immediately change like everything about it and make you think differently, you know? But yeah, is he a muggle? He's kind of a muggle a little bit. He's a muggle that got invited to Hogwarts. But he's like the calm to my chaos, which is really nice. So Cheney said she would love to flat earth with me and she calls him Paul Bunyan. That would be good. You could moderate that. We love to get into like a government discussion of like what you think the government should be involved with and what you think the government should not be involved with. And if most traditional people, I can take it very principled, if you will. But a lot of times when you get into states' rights conversation, a federalism conversation, a federal preemption conversation, and small government versus big government, and you really talk about what you, the individual, want the government to have jurisdiction over, it's very much a individualistic, not self-righteous, but self-serving kind of conversation. So we spend a lot of time out west, and I've shown him all sorts of incredible things out there. And so we were talking about like fisheries and hatcheries and stuff like that. And like I take the very classic liberalism, John Locke, like way far, don't think the government should be involved in anything at all. So in theory, I would say that we shouldn't intervene in the wildlife in that way. But it's a slippery slope conversation, you know? But kind of in the same way that like you do not want the government to be involved in X, Y, and Z, but you do want them to probably regulate more than they do FDA food wise. And so it's this kind of push and pull on what your principle is and what you're willing to accept just because it's beneficial to you on an individualistic basis. Yeah, somebody said I just learned about the Tennessee sleeping law. First step in criminalizing homelessness. That was really shitty. I read that recently that Tennessee has now criminalized sleeping outside, and I don't have the particulars in front of me at this moment. But when we do get back on here soon with my friend Cheney, we're gonna have a conversation about the idea of the commodity And she has been flirting with, pestering, tweeting at Sarah Palin. And Sarah Palin's been engaging back with her, and I'm trying to get her to like shoot her shot and try to go work for her. We both are in a sense, but it's an interesting conversation. I was talking about this recently in my stories this week. The idea of I posted a picture of a map showing the ownership interest of the federal government in land across the United States. And I also showed a map that the federal government owns 80 to 85% of the land in Nevada. In theory, then, if we own all this federal land, like, why don't we lease that to the data centers? Why does the data center need to seize land? And that's a whole other conversation that I could really get fucking riled up about on a soapbox. The notion of eminent domain is fucked in and of itself as it relates to the government taking property from you for what it deems to be, I can't remember the exact buzzwords of the legal terminology right now, but what it deems to be necessary and proper. And to see what's coming out now, where governments are attempting to utilize eminent domain to seize property from citizens to then give to a fucking corporation to build a data center. I'm about to cough. I apologize. It just really grinds my gears. It just really, a lot of times people will be like, why don't you go out there and file a lawsuit since you're an attorney? And I could do that, but then I typically represent people. I'm not out here like filing things as Maria the individual, representing Maria the individual. But if I owned something that the government thought it could come and take from me for eminent domain, you would fucking Ruby Ridge the shit out of me to get me out of there. I saw a tweet today that was talking about how Indians are taking over Texas in a way that I didn't understand. And then it was something about a Muslim community. I want to say in Colorado. I might be making the state up. I might be incorrect on that. But it was talking about this encampment essentially that the Muslims have created in some jurisdiction out west, and how like it's their own town now. And like the police don't go there, nobody's allowed in. There's a gated community type thing. And I just thought it was interesting that in the replies to it, it was like, when the white people do this, the FBI shows up and fucking kills everybody and takes it. But when the Muslims do it, it ain't no thing. It's really quite terrible. So to circle back around to the idea of Tennessee criminalizing homelessness, and the idea that the federal government owns all of this land. And like, in what hypothetical did we, the people, give the federal government the authority to do this? And for it, like, if anybody owns that fucking land, it's you and me. It's not the Fed. So I could get up on my soapbox and talk about the wild horses being killed. But then for Trump to come out and lower the restrictions on certain BLM land and other federal land so as to allow it to be logged and all the different things that they're doing to these places, fracking or whatever. If that's going to occur, if you're going to fucking ruin everything, there is no hypothetical where the Fed should be receiving the subsidies from those sales. It should be a commodity in the same way that Sarah Palin has treated Alaskans. And if you're going to sell the lumber on this land, then we, the people, should be receiving the stipend in response. And I want to be the person that like leads the revolution, but I just don't think it will. Like, we're going to have a manufactured revolution and a grassroots revolution all occurring at the same time. And you got to make sure that you're on the right bandwagon. But the true bandwagon is like not really a bandwagon at all, because we're all doing things individually, like, starting to collect our fucking rainwater, because otherwise, what are we going to do? I don't know. Like, we're at a breaking point. We are boiling, all of us frogs, in this pot. But I just don't know how you effectuate change in a rigged system without the proverbial draining of the swamp in one fell swoop. That's what was so promising about the idea of Q. If you truly wanted to effectuate change, it would take decades to occur in a perfect system. I don't know. I don't know where we take it from here, y'all. I don't know where we take it, but something's got to give. Something's got to give. Okay. I'm going to close this up. Let's do like 5 minutes left. Anybody got anything they can call or comment quickly? I'm going to try to go through here and see if I see anything else. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what we do, how we change, where we go from here. You know, I don't know. It's hard to effectuate change additionally when you're so under the gun and your supplies are low and money's tight. You know, it would be ideal to purchase half of a cow from a local butcher, but that's just not something that most Americans can afford at this time. So like, yeah, I would love to tell everybody to support their local butcher, but I don't know. I feed my dogs raw meat. Primarily that's deer when I have it. I don't have deer right now until unfortunately old Lonnie has to kill a couple for me, even though it breaks my heart. But I do supplement my dogs with beef and definitely won't be buying that anytime soon, I guess. And I have encountered some that I thought was questionable in the past, which makes sense, but I would be very apprehensive in making those type of purchases. Be smart about what you're buying and don't eat something that smells crazy. Somebody asked if I heard of fascia. I'm really into that right now. I don't know enough to like have a true conversation about it, but I think we all should be manipulating our fascia much more than we are. And in fact, I learned some techniques like that before Peyton died. I was taking him to an acupuncturist who was showing me how to manipulate his fascia and to kind of like pick his skin up on his back and like pull it away all the way up and down. And when I do that on Bruno now, he just fucking loves it. I've got to learn more about it. So if you have any resources, you should drop them in the chat, drop them in a comment later, message them to me, and I'd be happy to share with the class later. But definitely should be manipulating your fascia if at all possible, all the time. If you made it this far and maybe this is your first time here, I consider you an elite member of the class. And to show your solidarity to me and your fellow class members, I will pick a random ass emoji. If you're here, comment it. If you're on a post later in a couple days, maybe comment it there. Let me know that you watched this episode, and then everybody will look at it and say, huh, what does that emoji mean? Why do all these people involved in this cute little club? Okay. I don't have, I think, a emoji for this, but I just want to put Bluebird on the timeline. I'm not exactly going to tell you why, but Bluebird on the timeline. Timeline game of the week, Bluebird. If you see it, let me know. Let me know. So I'm feeling a tiger, the tiger emoji. So if you watch this, you want to give me a little love, drop that tiger emoji in a post, in a message, in a tweet, in a comment. Show me some love. That's all I think I've got for you. Did I talk about my new dog? Maybe I'll talk more about her later. My sweet Ruby Ridge. Actually, her name is Ruby Ray. She's a fucking terror. I love her. We're getting there. but she's a terrorist. She would fight to the death for me already, though. She's imprinted on me and she loves me more than anything in the world, but she's crazy, quite crazy. And I naively was just like, saw her eyes, had to rescue her. She was on death row in Atlanta, and Bruno was so easy. Just like the sweetest, babyest energy. And she is a high strung, crazy motherfucker. Crazy motherfucker indeed. But you know what? I got a big heart and I just want to save all them dogs. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. I love you. I missed you. Maybe I'll get my life together, but you should expect a little more from me here, a little more from me in a podcast form. And then eventually, at some point, old Lonnie's going to move me up to Kentucky, and Cheney and I are going to be bringing Conspiracy Slop to you, hopefully, on a daily basis. But hope you had a great time. Hope you enjoyed this. Remember that the eclipse is occurring literally probably right now, and that it is in the Pisces first decanate, and the lunar eclipse predicts sorrow to priest and religious houses. So in the coming days, if you see something that you think shows sorrow to priest and religious houses, come back here, drop it, tell me about it, let's talk about it, and we'll go from there. Love you so much. Have a great night. Talk to you later. Bye.